Thanks for tuning in with us tonight. I'm the president of the Cold Lake Regional Chamber of Commerce, Ryan Lefebvre, and tonight we have the Reeves Forum for you. So please get your questions in Facebook Live. We'll do our best to get to them all. This evening I'm joined by Barry Kalinski and Incumbent Sawchuk, and we will be asking them some prepared questions as well as some questions from Facebook Live and some we have in the office here tonight. Moderating tonight with me is a fellow director, Ray Cowell, and the format for tonight will be a 5-minute intro from each candidate, and to answer each question they will have 2 minutes, and in closing they will have 2 minutes each as well. We drew speaking order before we started here, and Barry's going to speak first, so Barry, I'll get you to start with your intro, please.
Thank you so much. To my fellow MD of Bonnyville Reeve and to everyone else joining us online tonight, thank you for taking an interest in the upcoming municipal election and my bid to represent you as the MD Reeve. I've spent a lot of time in the community over the last few weeks listening to people. There is a unique energy out there. People are engaged and hungry for change, and I am excited to invest my time and help initiate that change. For those of you not familiar with me, I've spent my entire 55 years here in the MD. My wife of 36 years, Renee, and I have 4 sons and live on a farm near LaQuarrie, where 3 generations have built our business raising cattle, crops, and in the logging industry. And now 2 of my sons are taking over the logging and farming operation, which leaves me fully dedicated to our municipality. I proudly served the MD ratepayers as a Ward 4 councillor for 10 years, concluding my term in the fall of 2017. During my decade on council, I saw the MD grow and prosper, earning a well-deserved reputation as a fiscal, responsible, innovative leaders amongst rural Alberta municipalities. Today, our rural community, much like many throughout the province, is facing new, rapid evolving changes, providing top-notch basic services, investing in much-needed capital projects, and working together with our neighbors, all while dealing with an uncertain economic climate, is a big responsibility, which is why strong leadership and experience must be at the forefront of this election. The direction and decision-making of council must be reflected of the values and priorities of the MD Bonnyville ratepayers. I'm excited about this opportunity ahead. Should I be elected as the next MD Reeve, I am confident that our newly elected council will lead our rural community to new heights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. I now ask Mr. Sawchuk for his 5-minute introduction.
All right, good evening, everyone. Virtual again. I'd much rather see your smiling faces. I want to thank the Chamber for putting this forum on. I really need to thank my wife and family for the last 4 years supporting me out there. I also must thank all of our council and the MD staff for the many achievements that we were able to achieve. Thank you to those who took a leap of faith in me 4 years ago, voting for a rookie, an outsider, a dreamer, and who were able to stand by my side throughout the making of this MD and the vision that I had for it. Most importantly, I want to thank those who are taking part tonight, watching online. It is a different setup, but your participation is important. Our council has moved towards an information-based decision-making process. We have challenged administration to come up with all the pertinent background information and also empowered them to come up with recommendations, which make it easy for the council to come up with a decision. Council has made great strides in governance and managing the MD like a corporation. Scheduled strategic planning, long-term capital plans, an annual business plan, which actually won a provincial award, and a move towards asset management. All of these are new to the MD. These will all be used to better manage the many needs of our residents and sustain the integrity of our infrastructure long into the future. But what did I run on 4 years ago? Regional cooperation, roads, lower taxes, public safety, and open communications. On regional cooperation, we completed 8 intermunicipal collaboration framework documents with all of our neighbors. Then came ID 349, the issue which I described as political football that was kicked around in many directions by successive provincial governments. The meetings attached to this were probably some of the toughest I have ever experienced. Eventually, the Minister of Municipal Affairs challenged me with negotiating a long-term regional agreement and submitting it to the province for approval. We were successful, and in April of this year, the ID was amalgamated into the MD, securing a long-term source of funding for the region. I certainly need to thank the mayors of Glendon, Bonnyville, and Cold Lake for working together on this important file. Fun fact now, the MD of Bonnyville is home to over 35% of the oil and gas production in Alberta. Roads. Well, when we arrived on council, roads for upgrade were decided off individual councillor wish lists. There was no rhyme or reason to the selection of the projects. This is unacceptable when you're using taxpayers' money. Today, we have engineered road standards. The main routes are identified according to their use. Every road has been assessed using numerous criteria. That data is scored to determine those in greatest need. From that, a long-term priority listing has been developed. All roads will be entered into asset management system and further refine the maintenance and improvements. Taxes. 10 years ago, I saw my land taxes increase exponentially year over year. We held the line on the residential mill rate, and as your assessment decreased, so did your taxes. We lowered the non-residential mill rate twice. We received national recognition for introducing a small business tax class the moment the province introduced it. Public safety and crime, well, we had public forums, advocated provincially, and Shannon Stubbs fought hard at the federal level, but it all fell on deaf ears. Locally, we initiated and funded the Lakeland Crime Reduction Unit. 3 experienced RCMP and a staff support. We also fund 50% of HARP, the RCMP dog. Unfortunately, we fund the back half, as this was a Cold Lake initiative. Crime is still an issue, and until we see longer sentences, I expect the RCMP will continue to see the same repeat offenders. Communications, this one needs work. We've lost some of our local radio personnel, and newspapers are consolidating. The MD's website and social media pages continue to grow. Health restrictions have really put a damper on face-to-face engagement with you folks and hurt all levels of government. What else? Well, the dollars saved by tendering out much of the road construction has allowed council to invest in health and wellness throughout the region. I'll touch on that later. These dollars also saved allowed us to invest in the fire service, committing to nearly $5 million on new trucks and apparatus, $5 million on new fire halls in Ardmore and Fort Kent. We introduced a health and wellness fund for them as well. I need to sincerely thank Regional Deputy Fire Chief Danny Heaney for bringing the Resilient Responder Training and Mental Health Program.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. So before we move on to the 2 prepared questions, I just want to invite all those viewing online to remind them that they are more than welcome to leave questions in the comment area and participate in tonight's event. We'll move on to the 2 prepared questions. The first will go to Mr. Sawchuk. The question is, tourism has seen some growth in our area over the last few years. What are your thoughts on how this industry can continue to grow in order to attract more tourists to the Cold Lake and MD of Bonnyville region? You have 2 minutes to reply.
Tourism, growing and arguably one of the most important industries that is available in the area. I would engage with Alberta Tourism and Travel Alberta to launch a campaign to promote our region. One thing I have heard is the need to have enough product available in the area to entertain visitors for a few days. Our council has invested significantly into that, with investments at Kalinski Ridge, with an adventure park, four-season development coming, trail improvements at the Trestle and in Glendon, upgrades at Vezo Beach, and an expansion at the MD campground in Cold Lake. We have an abundance of natural beauty here in our area with the lakes and the Beaver River, and I've spoken often with the Mayor of Cold Lake about all the potential in this area. I can see us promoting entrepreneurs who make a leap into creating tourism product and working as a region to make this one of Alberta's must-see destinations.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. Now, Mr. Kalinski, you have 2 minutes to reply.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to suggest that the efforts of our marketing and communication professionals employed within the 3 municipalities have played a large role in growing our tourism sector and making Northeast Alberta as a desired destination. The proof is in the pudding. Collectively, we have won several marketing awards, and the visitors' numbers prove we are doing something right. To continue that positive trend, I suggest even more collaboration, whether on special event marketing or even on issues such as lobbying the government on local fish catch and release regulations to better support our amazing sport fishing industry. We live in a beautiful place, and it gives me pride when people choose to come and explore our lakeland.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. We'll now move on to our second prepared question. First to respond will be you, Mr. Kalinski. The question is, the City of Cold Lake has been working for years to try and bring commercial air service to Cold Lake. What are your thoughts on this initiative, and do you support the efforts of Cold Lake? How do you see the MD of Bonnyville supporting this initiative with the City of Cold Lake? You now have 2 minutes to respond.
Thank you. Commercial air service flying out of Cold Lake has long been a vision of the city, and certainly one that could bring some value to the region should it come to fruition. But past efforts have been made and unfortunately proved to be unsustainable. So should this venture fly, pardon the pun, sound economics have to be at the forefront of any conversation, especially considering today's COVID-battered travel industry. If private enterprise sees an investment opportunity in our region and wants to look to the city and the MD for partnership, the MD should absolutely entertain that delegation. If the model can show long-term sustainability and ultimately provide value to our residents in the region, then this project we should all be excited about.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. Which question was that?
Airport.
Yeah. So now I ask Mr. Sawchuk to, you have 2 minutes to respond to the same question.
Commercial air service. Certainly we'd be in favor of commercial air service being accessible in this region for our residents and industry partners. We know logistically that we are tough to get to. We're at the end of the road. This can affect economic development and maybe a hindrance to new enterprises looking for a vibrant community to set up shop. I can tell you that the charter aircraft flights into the MD Regional Airport are increasing, and with over 20 flights coming in per week. Aircraft as large as Dash 8s are using that airport. The opportunities for economic development on and around an airport are numerous. Just the other day I spoke with individuals interested in greatly expanding their aviation business. Some others have expressed interest in bringing new services to the area. There are many examples of municipalities investing in core infrastructure on an airport to support existing industries and to attract new investment. I would expect this discussion may come up with the new council as strategic planning.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. Now we'll move on to the unprepared questions. And Mr. Sawchuk, you'll be first. The first question is, the MD and the city signed off on an ICF, Inter-Municipal Collaboration Framework, that recognizes each resident's impact on the other municipality. The ICF was a mandate of the municipal affairs for all municipalities. What are your thoughts on the MD providing operational and capital funding towards the City of Cold Lake recreation?
Well, the ICF discussion with Cold Lake was an interesting one because when first approached, Municipal Affairs thought that the possibility of the MD and the City of Cold Lake ever getting along was going to be impossible. But we sat down numerous times, had a lot of respectful conversations, and through that, we actually were able to break it down, and Cold Lake was very helpful in coming up with a list of items. And then the MD went down the same list of items and said, yeah, we'll support that, no, we won't support that, yeah, we'll support that, and so on down the line. But when it came to the big things, recreation, it turned out that Cold Lake and the MD didn't have a history. The MD was not supporting the Energy Centre whatsoever, and in this case, now we are, along with a number of other things. It evened the playing field across the region, and we're happy that we were able to get it done.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. And the same question to you for 2 minutes, Mr. Kalinski.
Yeah, when we started with the MD years ago, we started this program with the City of Cold Lake and the Bonnyville and the Glendon. I'd like to continue. We need to sit down in meetings with these municipalities and cities and the town, and keep growing for the future of our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. We'll go on to our second question, and we'll begin with you, Mr. Kalinski. The area is home to Canada's largest oil companies. What are your thoughts on the industry and its impact to our region? You have 2 minutes.
Well, the MD of Bonnyville is very fortunate to have these oil companies industry in our area. They provide the tax base, a large part of the tax base in the MD of Bonnyville. Your Essos, your Devons, your CNRL, I guess Devon's no longer, but CNRL and others. We worked proudly with these guys. We did a lot of projects in the MD of Bonnyville. They've really made our area, they really made our area better with all the money that they've invested in the MD and the cities and the towns. So we're very blessed to have them in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. And now to you, 2 minutes, Mr. Sawchuk.
Industry, yeah, it's definitely a great asset to have in the area, providing nearly 90% of our revenue. Lots of people don't realize that when that paved road is built in front of your house, 90% of it is paid for by industry. We've partnered up on a lot of things. We work very well with them. A number of things that are coming down the line which are very exciting, and they've reached out to us very early on. The big thing is the Pathways project. This is a $75 billion project. Starting up in Fort McMurray, it's a carbon capture, ending in the MD of Bonnyville. And if a plant similar to what is built in Fort Saskatchewan is built in the MD, that will be 750 to 1,000 full-time jobs. And so this will be a huge impact because it is such a large investment. Even if 10% of that fell within the MD, that would double the assessment within the region. With that in mind, we would be willing to work with industry to allow this project to succeed. But it's also going to need help at the provincial and the federal level, and we'll be advocating for them.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. Our next question comes from an online person. Kim Nahirniak is asking, please tell us your opinion on the vaccine passport. And Mr. Sawchuk, we'll begin with you. You have 2 minutes.
Well, you know what, we've had all sorts of questions on this thing. From the beginning, we have said at the MD that public health is a provincial mandate. We've followed the provincial guidelines. Whatever they put out, we don't have medical staff on board. We are not informed enough to make an individual decision. We've also, though, been out there and talked about people being personally responsible and looking after themselves. You know what we've seen over the entire time of this is a lot of people, I see it as really a breakdown in society, where a number of people are picking on others, and I have pleaded for a little bit of peace out there many times, that we just be nice to one another. Do not, call people names because of their choice. We don't know their personal circumstances, and I just wish that we could all, stay 6 feet apart for a little bit longer and get through this.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk, and now on to you, Mr. Kalinski.
I thought this question might be coming, so I wrote a little something down. Hey, like every ratepayer in the MD, I deeply value the freedoms that come with being a Canadian. Freedom of speech, freedom of choice, freedom of movement. I will always fight to protect those rights. When it comes to the current pandemic, we are in uncharted waters, and all levels of government are doing their best to safely navigate the storm. At the municipal level, we will continue to heed the advice of our public health professionals, continue to provide the highest level of services that we can to our residents under the current conditions. And we encourage everyone else to be smart, considerate of others, and safe so that we can emerge from this pandemic stronger than ever.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. Next question does come from online, from Chad Colborne. I'll reword it a bit. Mr. Kalinski, it'll be for you. What are your thoughts on the MD in creating its own fire service?
The MD itself?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't think it's a very wise idea for the MD to create their own service when we have a great service that's right now working fine. This would be a FRA.
Is that it?
No.
Okay.
No. I've had a lot of concerns. Many taxpayers phone me on this, and there's so many concerns on what's going down, and people are just fed up with everything that's happening. And I don't know the whole thing about it, but we need to get to the bottom of it, people. There's a lot of things happening that we don't know, and we need to get to the bottom of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. And now to you, Mr. Sawchuk. Same question, 2 minutes.
Yeah, as far as the MD going on its own in a fire service, that's never come up in council. There's never been a motion to go in that direction. We're working with the chiefs and trying to get to the bottom of this. I think what it comes down to, and I'd say, we're enormously proud of the work that our first responders do, and we've been there to support them. We've been there for every ask when it came to the fire equipment and apparatus. We listened to the fire chiefs when it came to the fire halls. Administration were telling us, it's crazy to build 2 fire halls only 9 kilometers apart. Council chose to build those fire halls in Ardmore and Fort Kent because the fire chief said it would help with recruitment and retention. But council also saw it as a way of investing in our hamlets as well, making the people who live there maybe proud of a municipal building there. As far as again, the MD going on its own way, I think that the problem right now is probably at our level. I'll be honest, it's probably at the governance level, and not anywhere within the fire authority down. We'll work through that. There's no intention to cut back. I heard one comment where somebody said it looks like they're going to be picking bottles and cans in the ditches in order to build or get trucks. That is absolutely outrageous. In fact, we just committed $1.3 million to a couple more trucks, and I know that it's coming up in strategic planning that we're looking at fire services for Cherry Grove.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. So the next question will be to you, Mr. Sawchuk. First, over the past 4 years, a significant effort has been made to build strong working relationships between the City of Cold Lake and the MD of Bonnyville, which has had a positive impact on our regional business community. If elected, how would you continue to build these relationships? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, we have gone a long way in order to restore that relationship that was described as virtually non-existent. It took some work. There was some reticence from the city of Cold Lake for sure. I know the first time I sat down with them, they were a little bit afraid that the MD was coming to lay down the law. And when they realized, we can talk respectfully to one another, we were able to work through any of our differences. But going forward, I see plenty of opportunity for working with the city of Cold Lake and even our other partners in Bonnyville, Glendon, and outside of the area. I think on a lot of these issues, tourism, healthcare, we all share the same issues, and we all need to advocate together. When we advocate individually, it gets lost. You're lucky if you can see a minister, but when you advocate as a group, and we did this especially on crime, where we had the city, the town, the village, the settlements, the First Nations, and we got right in front of the minister, and everyone made a passionate plea to do something about rural crime.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk, and on to you, Mr. Kalinski, of 2 minutes.
Yeah, he's making it sound like we didn't work very well with the city of Cold Lake. I tend to disagree with that. When we were in council, we worked fine with them. We had a lot of projects with the city of Cold Lake and the town of Bonnyville and Glendon. We weren't that bad of guys, and we're going to continue to work with the city of Cold Lake and surrounding area to make this area great. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. We'll now take a question from the online forum from Monty Denanico. For you first, Mr. Kalinski. To what do you attribute the high rate of turnover of CAOs and other managerial positions over the past 4 years? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Well, when this new council took over, they were on a firing spree. They fired, I don't know how many years of experience in the MD of Bonnyville. And the severance that went along with it was probably well over $1 million of severance to individuals. And then just a simple thing like the fire, the 2 fire buildings they built in Ardmore and Fort Kent. They just made a mess of them. They brought them in-house instead of listening to people that had wisdom, and they totally made a mess of them. And now they're supposed to be open in 2019, and now they're not even open to this day. And then the new council, or the Reeve and the new council brought in with the CEO brought in new people that didn't have a lot of experience, so they're making decisions. And people phone me that have a lot of experience here in the MD and worked for a lot of oil companies and stuff, and they applied and they weren't even looked at. So our local people in our area weren't even looked at when the hiring went upon us, and that's terrible. So we need to hire local people and people that can do the job in the MD. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. And on to you, Mr. Sawchuk, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thanks, Monty, for the question. Yeah, I'm glad that one came up because first off, everyone needs to realize that council, they only have control over one employee, and that's the CAO. And yes, we did move one CAO on. It was after about 6 months, even though council was pleading with me to do it right away. I feel everyone deserves a chance. And we gave that 6-month chance and eventually had enough. That was the only CAO that was ever let go. That was the only employee ever let go by council. And then we had a bit of a break waiting for a new one to come in. We were lucky enough to have Roy Denenko come in and serve once again with the MD of Bonnyville. This guy was a statesman, and I miss him dearly. Then we had another gentleman come in, and you know what? He had an opportunity come his way. After a couple of years serving the MD and starting to move it in the right direction, he actually he got offered a job with a bigger municipality, so it was a step up. And if anyone's responsible for him moving on, it's probably me, because I was his reference. So he went on to a bigger municipality. Luckily enough, we have a new CAO who again comes to the MD, in this case from a larger municipality, tons of experience, and once again we have somebody who knows how to run a municipality. And with each one of these administrators, you're going to find that they have their own different look. And they will make changes as they see necessary. Again, this is not a council decision, it is a CAO decision.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. We'll now go to an online question from Andre Yeremy. To you first, Mr. Sawchuk. My question is for both candidates. Research has shown that 1 in 5 adults in Alberta experience challenges with literacy. What are the candidates' views on investing and supporting adults with foundational learning and skills development in the area? Mr. Sawchuk, you have 2 minutes.
Boy, that one's out of right field. Thank you, Andre, for that one. On literacy, yeah, you know, it's this one up. What can the MD do? I guess, you know, continue to support our schools. I know that we do have some interaction with the schools. I know I've asked to go in and talk to the kids as well about municipal politics. As far as it being a problem in the area, I would say that's it's going to be a case of, once again, advocating, getting together with our neighbors and advocating to the province.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. And now, same question to you, Mr. Kalinski. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with the Reeve here. We need to work with the people that's, you know, we have professional people that are working with this situation in our area. I think it's there's a lot more out there than we realize, and you know, if they want to come to the MD as a delegation, or you know, just to come out and reach out to us, because we don't know a lot about it, but we're eager to learn about it. So that's a great question, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. And the next question is to you, Mr. Kalinski. In the MD, many rural subdivisions have been built. Some of these lots have sat dormant without development for years. What are your thoughts on how you and council would promote the building of homes on these vacant lots? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, vacant lots are on, you know, on demand. If we get more jobs in the area, there's going to be more demand for houses. Not too sure on how we could promote lots, but yeah, I'm not too sure on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. Same question to you, Mr. Sawchuk. You have 2 minutes.
Well, the MD has 87 rural subdivisions, and they popped up over a period of about 15 years everywhere on quarter sections here and there, without what we saw as a whole lot of planning behind it. And now, yeah, of course, you get those subdivisions, and they require a lot of additional services, and people are asking for more. As far as the vacant lots go, the best solution for them is a vibrant economy. And if we can have some sort of rebound here, some of those lots are going to be sold.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. Now, next question on to you. Improving healthcare is a hot topic in our region. What role, if any, do you see the MD playing in trying to improve services to the residents? Mr. Sawchuk, you have 2 minutes.
Healthcare, well, it's another big one. I've had the pleasure of sitting on both the doctor recruitment and retention committees in Bonnyville and in Cold Lake. It's quite insightful as to the challenges for bringing in new doctors and the changes that were made federally that made it even tougher. I also sit as part of the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Committee that has been a real eye-opener, and especially in the times we're in right now. The needs of our kids probably has not been greater, and the isolation that we saw over the last year has not been good for some of them. So the MD has supported both of these, and we look forward to working with them. As far as the bigger issues on healthcare, you know what, we're seeing it right now, shortage of ICU beds. What has AHS done about providing more beds? They've had 18 months to get those beds in order, and we haven't seen them. You know what, you can pound on the table so long, and you really wonder. We've advocated to successive provincial governments, it didn't matter what the stripe, that we need more in the rural areas. We need more diagnostic services. We need more doctors. We need more nurses. We have to stop doing the transfers. We have ambulances running down the highway every single day, 130 to 140 from Bonnyville, 130, 140 coming from Cold Lake, all going to Edmonton, taking 8 hours out of the day and taking ambulances out of the area. Why can't we keep these people in the area at our two hospitals?
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. Same question to you, Mr. Kalinski. You have 2 minutes.
What was the exact question?
Yes, I'll repeat it. Improving healthcare is a hot topic in our region. What role, if any, do you see the MD playing in trying to improve services to residents? You have 2 minutes.
Well, there's a lot of things that we need to do. You know, like you said, ambulances are a crucial thing in our area. They are running up and down the highways crazy. A lot of them have the mileage in them are, you know, there seem to be mileage out already. We need to bring in some new ambulances in our area, and you know, doctor recruitment is very important. And we used to work with the two organizations from the Cold Lake Hospital and the Bonnyville Hospital. We used to support them, and we could do more to support them in bringing in equipment to help out in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. Our next question comes from online and is for Mr. Sawchuk. We, CCL Networks, had multiple communication towers planned in the MD of Bonnyville in 2018. During our applications, the MD issued new bylaws that directly affected our applications with no consultation with local companies. This directly stopped us from competing and providing services in the MD. Why did Council feel it was appropriate to not contact local companies, especially when they had applications on the table that were directly affected? You have 2 minutes.
Well, if a local bylaw was passed, then there's always the chance for public consultation. There's always a public hearing available. There's always a time for engagement. If that didn't take place, it was not on the part of the MD. It would have been the part of the company, because that would have been out there for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. We'll now move to our final question of the evening before closing comments. And this goes to Mr. Kalinski first. What is the top political issue that you would hope to resolve during your tenure? And how would you approach this issue? You have 2 minutes.
I think one of the top issues in the MD is our spending is out of control in this MD. We need to get spending under control. There's so many examples out there of the spending in this MD just foolishly. I even talked to a main person from the MD, and they said the MD's spending is out of control, and that's pretty tough to hear from someone from the MD. And yeah, that's it. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinski. Same question to you, Mr. Sawchuk. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, as far as the next term, you know what? First, we have to get through this COVID crisis. We'll continue to modernize and implement the best management practices. Fiscal restraint, absolutely, especially on large capital projects. And you know, we've identified nearly $600 million in shortfalls that will have to be dealt with in the next 20 years. A lot of that core infrastructure, like roads and bridges, well, you used to get money from the province. No longer. Those are entirely on the MD, and we have 161 bridges. They can cost anywhere from $800,000 to $3 million a piece. We're going to continue to advocate with industry, and they are our largest employer, and while ensuring that our infrastructure is maintained, we have to be aware of the increased pressure that they put on it, and that may need maintenance. We're going to continue advocating healthcare, agriculture, crime. Expect the unexpected is what I learned over this term. We had fires, we had floods, we had drought, we had ice jams taking out bridges, we had a slumping economy followed by a healthcare crisis. And who would have believed that we would have ever seen oil at $0 a barrel? It's funny, when I came in, I saw the poster for this event, and it showed Barry and I, and it was our pictures from 4 years ago. I have a lot more gray hair now than he does. And, but you know what? It's, honestly, the next 4 years, it's going to be a challenge. We're going to be seeing decreased revenue, and a new council is going to be faced with some very hard decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Sawchuk. So now we'll move on to our closing. And Mr. Sawchuk, we're going to begin with you. You have 2 minutes for your closing.
All right, the next 4 years are going to be tough. Tough for MD Council due to the provincial 3-year moratorium on new assessment on wells and pipelines and the depreciation at existing sites. We're going to see nearly $3 million drop in revenue this year, a further $3 million the year after, and the same the year after. With that, I am a fiscal conservative. I would rather trim capital projects than raise taxes. As everybody knows, taxes have not gone up while we've been here. I promise to continue to treat the position of Reeve as a full-time commitment that it deserves. Prior to COVID, I averaged 40 to 50 meetings per month, and I took a week off every year to volunteer at a boys' leadership camp. If you are in favor of the modern management practices that we have introduced and the direction of the MD in the last 4 years, then I would humbly ask for your vote.
Thank you for your closing comments, Mr. Sawchuk. And now to you, Mr. Kalinski, for your closing comments. You have 2 minutes.
I can't believe you have that many notes on every question that was asked. That's unbelievable. As Reeve, just one voice on MD Council. Decisions are made collectively. I can't promise any one thing without the support of your elected councillors. What I can promise to you today is simple. I'll be fair, I'll be honest and transparent in all my dealings, both at council table and in the community. Talking to ratepayers, I'll be a good listener. I will help guide council through good times and bad, using my own experiences and knowledge to shed more light on difficult issues. I will respect our community with pride and professionalism, and I will dedicate my time to ensure that all residents of the MD of Bonnyville feel heard, respected, and valued. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for contributing. We really appreciate it. I personally want to thank you, Mr. Kalinski, and you, Mr. Sawchuk, for your time this evening. And thank you everyone for watching again. And be sure to get out and vote this year. Take care.